took this trade in the D period. You can see how we swept the overnight high and then also the POC from yesterday. And I felt like we made it all the way up to the top of that node there above the POC. So, that's kind of where my stop is at. If we kept going, I'd want to be out of this. Otherwise, I thought it was a good chance to start, the next time period. If it didn't break the D, my plan was to add more. And then that would start kind of stair-stepping down. You've seen me take a couple trades like this. I actually took one like this yesterday. I just didn't get a chance to post it. So right here, you see it pulling back. It's kind of bouncing off that open, and I'm just kind of sitting on it. And like I said, I've been trying to practice kind of seeing the bigger picture, and I thought it did a pretty good job of that. We did, eventually make it all the way back down to that where I just highlighted there in the green area, which is what I was thinking would be my ultimate target. But, I didn't anticipate having to sit this long, but as it kept progressing, it just looked right. Even with that blue line there, just like that, I was looking, that's the area that I wanted to add some. And that definitely turns out to be a little too early because the E period and then the F period, go up and they do test that D, but just started to look better. The trade to me just started to look better and better. So I think I entered that second set a little too early there. But other than that, I think I did a pretty good job of kind of predicting, predicting, what I thought the trade was eventually going to do instead of just taking little sections of it, which is what I normally would, how I would normally trade this trade. And normally I would have waited, for the F period where, how it doesn't break above it. I'll point it out when we get there. But now that I have my 4 in, it stops basically in the same spot. I want to take the 2 there. I separated them so that I could bring one up. Like if we come back to that POC and it didn't look like we're going to, continue, I could at least take one in that area. And then I wanted to get both of those off within that value area. So you can see how that volume node or the volume profile is kind of bubbled. And then between the value area high and the value area low, I wanted to get those first 2 out of there. One reason I entered early on that E is because I thought, I might miss it. And I probably, in the future, I should just let that E play out. And if I missed it, I missed it. It's not a big deal because, it would have made a lot more sense to enter that second set in the F period once you had that third step down. Obviously, this is sped up a lot. There's a lot of back and forth and a lot of grinding around here that I was wading through. I think this is going to take about 8 minutes, and this trade actually took me an hour and a half. So, and I think time fatigue really did start to wear on me. But like I said, I'm trying to get better at it. That's what I'm practicing here. And for my third target, I was looking at clearing that poor low with the A and B low there, and then you also had the weekly value area low there. So, I was looking at that. And then for the last target, the dream target would be flushing that whole thing and getting back to the settle from yesterday. Here, that E period's testing that D high. I'm not even sure here. I mean, you could obviously could add a set here if you wanted to, but for me, the F period, that third period not making over the E, would have probably be, in my mind, the correct spot to add if I was going to do that. For me, anyways. But each step here, you can see how it, it was coming down, and it still, what was working against me here is that it was single time framing up. But you can see how each step it gets a little bit less. The D, kind of made it up there. Then the E only made it to that just short of the D, and now this F period, opens. Same thing. It kind of pulls back. It looks like it's single time framing, but on the high, it's not breaking that E high. So I think right there would have been the perfect spot to add my second set. And obviously hindsight, that's what I'm pointing out there. So again, I want to try to get these first 2 contracts off within kind of the major bubble, basically the value area high, the value area low of this. And that was another reason or another factor when I decided to try this trade was the way that the volume profile is such a bubble there. And it's relatively balanced. When I saw the F period fail to break that DE high, I felt pretty confident in the trade at that point. Here I'm looking to break that E low. Then you'd be looking at the POC halfback area. That's the other thing, is I thought I did a pretty good job of kind of managing the trade and creating a narrative the whole time while the trade was happening. So that's another thing that I think is important when you're trying to take trades that have bigger concepts. Especially in this trade, there was a lot of going against me, or taking back profit because we kept bouncing. But sticking with my narrative, and look how close this comes to that first target. So right there, it started to wear on me. But you can see kind of the cutout in the volume profile. But I think it just, that could have happened anywhere. It does that to me a few times, so that starts to wear on me. As far as my targets, right here, it does take it out. I go ahead and take that second one, just because we're so close to that value area low. We should at least clear that poor low down there, AB low. The only thing is, if we get a big bounce out of here, and it takes me out for these last two, or break even basically, maybe I would have a chance to re-enter, but I would want to give it a second just to make sure it wasn't going to just totally bounce out of here and take off on me to the upside. Here's the G period, and that does exactly what I thought it was going to. And look how that comes right to my order. So at this point, I'm pretty frustrated. But once I wait for that to get back down there, and I go ahead and close that one. Now I'm looking at that settlement, which is that green line, basically that whole area. And another thing is, because we flushed over the top of that, or swept over the top of that overnight high, I was thinking, it'd be pretty automatic that you would look to the overnight low. So that was another factor. But I wanted to be ahead of all of that. So you had the settlement, which is a green line. You have that previous low there, and then you had the overnight low. And like I said, I wanted to be ahead of all that. But you can see how the volume profile is kind of fading out. And I probably should have moved up. If you look at that volume profile just to the left, if you can see the bulge there at the bottom, it's about, looks like it's about 16 or about 1550 or 15. I probably should have just moved it up to that. But as we get down here, we get one more push down. And I'll close that out. And that was about 45 ticks. The ticks are going to be a little bit off, because I added for less. Right there, I close it, so everything's not going to be exactly right. I thought that was a pretty good trade.